The Ed Bickert story continues. I want to give you a little brief glimpse into what Ed was doing and how he approached chord solos in the late 50s. So the earliest recording, I do this every time. Oh, wow. This is Ed in 1958, back when he was smoking a pipe instead of his Maverick cigarettes. And also when he was playing his Gibson ES 175. For context, Ed was born in 1932, moving to Toronto when he was about 20. So by the mid-50s, he is starting to break out into the scene and become Canada's preeminent jazz guitarist. There's reference to him going back to 1955 in newspapers and articles, all of which hail him as an exceptional player, and usually the standout when in whatever situation he's in, which is pretty incredible, honestly. Now, Ed's first big break was with Moe Koffman, and specifically the Moe Koffman Quartet. Moe Koffman was a jazz flautist and alto saxophonist, and Ed was in his band, in his quintet, eventually for decades. It was actually really the person who he has the longest recording career with, starting in 1957 with Ed's debut recordings ever on the record Hot and Cool Sax. That looks like this. Oh, Cool and Hot Sax, sorry. This is the Moe Koffman Quartet, and then there's some additional horns later on in the record. And it's a fine record, but it didn't make a splash immediately, and actually there's a little bit of a review, not this one. Yeah, Moe Koffman, Septet Jubilee. This indicates there's an active jazz clique in Canada, and the men play with skill and taste. However, like most jazz played by non-US musicians, it has practically no market here. Canadian shops may find it otherwise, but in the States, this can be skipped. Womp womp. However, what came of this record is something huge. That is the Swingin' Shepherd Blues. Ended up becoming a huge hit for Moe Koffman and put him and Ed Bickert all over the map in Canada in 1958. And there's tons of newspapers and articles talking about the Swingin' Shepherd Blues and how big of a hit it is. It's the top instrumental hit of the day, and there was tons of covers of it, and Moe was making a lot of money through those royalties. And thankfully, we find ourselves with a much more generous article and review, Cool and Hot Sax, the Moe Koffman Septet, now one for us old jazz fans. Since the country went on the British kick with the Queen, this one is timely. The Sextet is a group of young Canadian jazzmen, all in their 20s. Koffman is an adept musician at tenor sax, alto, clarinet, and flute, and proves it. In his group is a far out of the ordinary guitar, Ed Bickert, who does an especially fine bit on a thing called Hamburg Bound. Others are Ed Karam, Jack Long, Rob McConnell, Hugh Carey, Ron Rowley, etc. It's on the progressive side, but it swings real good. Maintains a nice melodic line. Let's listen for a second, a little bit, to the Swingin' Shepherd Blues. No Ed so far. That comes in. Just kidding, not yet. Forgot. There it is. Okay, so that's that, and Ed takes a nice solid solo, but he's really not featured that much, and even on the head in, the head out, he pretty much drops out most of the time, which is interesting. But it became a hit, and that was Ed's first record. So I'm going to play an example, a quick chord solo that Ed plays on that record on a tune called Francesca. And I want to check out, how his playing is from back then. So let's take a look at Francesca and a quick 4-bar excerpt of some chord soloing by Mr. Ed Bickert. So this is a nice, chord melody example. And this is before Ed is doing his hybrid picking thing, which he really picked up once he started playing with Ron Collier and the Phil Nimmons large ensembles, where he was tasked usually to be the only comping instrument and play some really interesting voicings. And it required him to figure out, how to grab grips, as he called them, that wouldn't work necessarily with only the pick. But this is before that, so we get an insight into his harmonic vocabulary, but with a pick. And I'd say a lot of what you hear in Ed's playing, especially with the chord soloing, is very big band-esque, almost kind of shout chorusy. It's like block chords, very swinging, quintessential type rhythms. And if you gave it to a saxophone section, it probably sounds super killing, and it kind of has that shout chorus or big band background type quality. So here we go. This is I love this voicing. It's old school. It's a great dominant 13. So I've got B flat, D, E, C. So it's a C13. I got the flat 7, the 9, the 3, and the root. So it's not a 13. Sorry, already messed that up. Perfect. It's a C9 chord. If I don't have, anyways, I can grab the 13 pretty easy. But then we go down to a B flat 13. Actually, he does this nice movement where he's playing like B flat 13 sus. So A flat, E flat, G, C, which is an A flat major 7 chord voicing over B flat, which is toggling with a straight up B flat dominant 7, top 4 strings, flat 7, 3, 5, 1. So, and you get that articulation. Ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. And a consistent melody, as he always did. Now check this out. That dee-da, dee-da. That keeps going, that line. Dee-da, dee-da. But now we go to a D altered. Pretty, classic, great voicing. D7, got the C, F sharp, B flat, and F. So flat 7, 3. Sharp 5, sharp 9, and the melody goes sharp 9 to flat 9. And then it's that same thing, but on a G7 altered. Same voicing. Flat 7, 3, sharp 5, sharp 9, goes to flat 9. And that's a 2-5 going to C minor. Tunes in C start off with the C dominant chord at this end of the phrase. And B flat dominant. Sorry, then 2-5 in C minor. We end off with a C minor 6-9, E flat A D G, flat 3 6 9 5, and then a G7 sharp 5 to bring it back home. That's F B D E flat or D sharp. That's shell. Got your 3rd and 7th, and then your sharp 5. So a lot of shell. You got the meat, the guide tones, your seventh and your third, mostly on the D and G strings. If I only play the D and G strings, check this out. Sorry. So, got those classic shells and guide tones, thirds and sevenths on the D and G strings. Nothing too wild here, but you still get a sense of how rhythmically intentional he is and how there's a really solid melody line. And he harmonizes it in just the way you would expect. Nothing super flashy, but it is correct. He is doing the exact right thing that you would want from someone playing some great down the middle chord soloing. Now let's get into the sophomore record of Ed Bickert and the Moe Koffman quartet. So he leans into the quartet because his first record is the quartet, but then there's some additional horns. He also leans into, the shepherd label, that sort of identity that really was necessary because Swing and Shepherd Blues became such a hit. So there's this record called The Shepherd Swings Again. And, again, there's some sort of sexy, kind of cool cover with a woman in some sort of sheep blanket, and you see the shepherd's hook and a flute, kind of cool. And I would say this, as far as being an Ed Bickert fan and listener, this is the better album. Showcases Ed in even more lovely ways, and he's brought out as a soloist and a comper even more so. Now, this record did pretty well, too. And there's a nice review. I think this is in Jubilee, if I remember. But The Shepherd Swings Again, 5 stars. This album should appeal to the many fans Moe Koffman gained as a result of his recent hit single, The Swing and Shepherd Blues. In this LP, Koffman and his quartet play 8 more tunes, 5 Koffman originals in the same swinging manner as he did on his hit disc. In addition to flute, Koffman is heard on alto sax as well. Of the originals, best are Flute Salad and Bermuda Schwartz. Of the standards, Alone Together is excellent. So we're going to listen to another very quick chord solo example from Doxy, the great Sonny Rollins tune, and we'll listen to the first, the head at least. Again, Ed's not playing right away. Which is cool. I like that as an effect, but I think sometimes, I guess I'm curious why he was left out of the comping for a lot of these melodies at times. He's not as forward as a comping presence in these very early examples. Of course, we have lots of other hundreds and thousands of hours of Ed being an immaculate comper in other settings after this. So that's all good. So let's take a listen to this Doxy clip and dissect it. So they play in the key of G, which is nice. Actually, it's cool because these records, when they play tunes, they're actually in fairly guitar player friendly keys, or at least different ones than you would expect, because Moe's playing flute, and that lends itself better to the instrument. So the tunes in G versus B flat, again, this is a very big band type passage. I wouldn't be surprised if it's even some sort of melody or a big band quote, because Ed knew so much music, and he is often the type to throw quotes in there, not for any contrived reason, but just because it's part of him. It's part of the fabric of his identity growing up. So I wonder if this is actually something. It almost sounds like nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Little folk hymn. But anyways, this is a very diatonic sequence melodically. But we have our G, and he plays this nice, and these are all 3-note voicings, which is cool to see how he's approaching these. We have a D, E, B, so that's the 5, 6, and 3 of G. Then to a straight up G major triad, straight up A minor triad, and then a G over B. He's playing an A and a D to G, which is the 9, 5, 1. Super diatonic melody. And he's using the A minor as a passing to get to G over B. And then this is a cool sequence here. He keeps doing this, cycling between the G and the E. This is the root and the 6 of the key. But he's revoicing it each time. So he's going 1 goes to 6, E7 sharp 9, goes to 2 dominant, A7, flat 2 major 7, A flat major 7, to a straight up G. So and the voice leading is very clear here. If you play this E7 sharp 9, I've got G sharp D G. So that's literally your Hendrix voicing minus the root. And then he flips the bottom 2 notes so that you have an A and a C sharp, which becomes your root and third of A7. That melody G stays. That's your flat 7. Then he moves the bottom 2 notes down a half step, which gives you an A flat major 7 or the flat 2, which conflicts in a cool way with the bass line as you hear it, because they're not doing the same thing. So 2, flat 2 major 7, and then straight up G major triad. And he does this nice syncopated line. Triads. He makes the home chord a more dominant flavored bluesy sonority by going into this 6th fret bar, technically a B flat minor triad. But really what he's doing is accentuating the flat 3 or that blue note in the G key, the sharp 9. So you have D flat, F, B flat, which is flat 5, flat 7, and flat 3 in the key of G. But that's coming from the G minor pentatonic scale, or G minor pentatonic with the flat 5 blue note. Sorry. And then he plays a C major triad. I played it wrong a couple times, sorry. C major triad and then an F major triad. Circling around our home of G, but he doesn't actually get there. So B flat minor, C major, F major, and then the tune goes to the head out, resolves to G. So another great example of totally what you'd want, killing time feel, super swinging, very big band horn section type lines and phrasing and harmonies. Nothing wrong with this at all. It is fantastic playing and a really cool insight into how Ed was approaching this music when he was in the very nascent stages of his career.